All right, so started the garden season for us. So we have two main plots, one being the big one in the back and the one being up top here. So we're going to designate this as the spring one. There's a couple overflow rows in the back, but mainly that's going to be all the fruit and the summer. So we're going to work on this one today. It is the day before spring, so it is sunny out but quite cold. And right under here is a big pile of 32 yards of compost. In this case, it's leaf compost. So black gold, incredibly black. So this is slightly cheaper than your normal compost that would be mixed in with true what people think of compost plus topsoil and all that. This is just leaves decomposing. So I do this for a number of reasons. One, it is slightly cheaper than the richer stuff. So there is a lot of nutrients in here, but not as much as you would get in real compost where you're decomposing all your food and all that other stuff. So this is good enough, certainly sufficient, but not overly that you'll get 10-foot tall pepper plants. So it allows you to get that nutrition initially without overwhelming the plant and it growing more green than the fruit that you want. So that gives you the opportunity to modify the beds as need be without it being too late or out of your control if it's already in the soil and the soil is on the ground. So I like that flexibility where I have the control in how quickly or how slowly the plants will be growing. All right, so I do this for a number of reasons. One, it is cheaper than the other stuff. That's not the main reason, but as leaf compost you don't get the true nutrient richness of a typical compost of manure, topsoil, and decomposition of fruits and all that stuff. So this is just leaf, so this is just a lot of carbon with a lot of micronutrients, and that gives you then the flexibility to modify the soil with other fertilizer, other nutrients as you deem necessary. So I like that flexibility where I have more of control in how the plants, how fast they grow or how slowly they grow, and I just fix it from there. But really the main reason I like it is look how nice and flowy. It's very spongy. This is 32 yards. If this was just regular topsoil, it'd probably already compact by then. This is still very, very flowy. And it just sits on that bed, allows for the roots and the air and the oxygen to get in there very nicely without the ground just not compacting and kind of killing the roots from getting further down into there. So I really like it in that aspect where I have the flexibility. It's incredibly water retentive, so it's spongy, does not compact, plus it comes at a cheaper rate. So we're gonna take wheelbarrows full of this and put them on top of our spring garden. So as you'll see on top of this is a black tarp. So I put this instead of the green manure for now, or a cover crop. Hopefully next year we can do some cover crop, but as it stands right now, so this black tarp is commonly referred to as silage tarp. So it's different from your typical garden tarp where it would have the mesh into it, where it would kind of allow the water to go through. As you can see, there's puddles here. It is impervious to water, so no water is getting through here. So when I pull this back, especially when it's been roasting on top of the sun's been roasting on top of it, it will be nice soil that you can already work with. So that's positive number one. There is maybe a negative in that underneath there is probably a good amount of mice, but we'll take care of that nice and easy. So as I pull this back, I'll put the dirt on top of it, and then I'll pull it back, and it will kind of warm again, and we'll put seeds on top of it so it helps retain that water, give it a nice extra kick in these colder months of warmth to help with the germination. So I like this in that I have more control of when I want to use the soil. I can pull back a little right here. So this has been under freezing, ice cold winter season, but you can see I can already dig into it. Nice flowy soil, and you can already see a lot of the germination of the weed seeds that were here. So I'm already burning all those off, and I won't have to deal with those weeds when I pull this off. So we'll pull this back, we'll put dirt on top of it, and we'll pull it back. So I'll turn it back on when we kind of get in the middle of this. All right, so the tarp is pulled back, so this is kind of what it looks like. You got mulch and leaves in the middle. Got some garlic that I planted last year, slowly popping up. Just needs some sun to get going. But as you can see, the silage tarp, this is still compost from last year. So this has been just sitting here in the winter, and you can see without even putting a shovel to it, I can very easily pull it back. I don't have the temperature, the thermometer back here, but I can very much feel warmth on this. So this is helpful of already making the soil nice and easy to break through when it's still winter out. So I like that, and it's just not saturated with water. It's easy to work with, and it also, like I showed you before, causes germination of stuff that you don't want already. So it causes germination, and it just already kills them. They're coming up too early, or if I till it in or move them, easy to knock down the weeds without having to deal with them in the summer. Okay, so we're going to start taking soil from there and putting it on top of here. Okay, so at least about 20% of that big old mound came out the wheelbarrows here pretty quick. Like I said, nice, flowy, easy to work with, not compact, so very good for especially root vegetables. Very good for when it's nice and cold, it doesn't compact with all that freeze and thaw. So we'll keep it as is. So the pile's a little colder than I would have liked, so I'm going to pull that tarp back for tonight. It's supposed to be into the 20s. Let the heat of tomorrow kind of warm up everything, and probably put seeds into the ground on Sunday, put the tarp back up, and then we'll be good to go for our spring garden. Alright, quick update as we're progressing in the spring garden. Got some planting going down, so we have potatoes going on here, all sorts of different varieties. 2 per square foot, about 16 square lengths here, so a good amount. Back here is going to be the onions. So they're just the bulbs. The ones that we did from seeds are a little behind schedule, so we decided to just do some bulbs just to make sure we had some here. As you can see, I'm still keeping the silage tarp on to make sure we suppress the weeds, make sure when the rains do come it doesn't wash away anything. And those that we did directly seed into the soil, we flip them around. So that does 2 things. We flip it around mainly because the black, if you had it that way, it would fry everything below it. So this is now reflective. When we do water, we keep it with the white side facing up. That then retains the water, because remember, the seeds are just at barely the top of it. So at this sort of stage, with the sun the way it is, you have evaporation and you don't have germination if you don't have water. So this keeps everything very moist, very humid, and keeps it a little bit warmer, but not warm enough like the black side that would fry everything. So we did a whole bed of peas. So there's about 700 to 800 peas here, and then we did a bed of carrots, and we'll do another bed of carrots over there once we get going. So that's what's happening in the spring garden. I'll take you back into the summer garden and show you where we're at with that. So back in this garden, we did everything that we did up top. So we lift up all the tarps and just put more soil underneath. So that is now baking underneath the sun. So any sort of seeds will germinate and then die. So you have a weed-free, at least as best as you can, a weed-free season. And we'll probably have to use 2 of these beds, just some overflow from the spring. So we'll probably have radishes and spinach. Those grow very quickly and then die, and then picked just as quickly. Back here is something we just did. As you can see, you got your nice beds mulched up. So we're going to do all sorts of different berries. So we're going to do raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, and some grapes. So it's a bit of a confined space at the moment, so we'll see how this goes. We'll be tying everything up as best as we can. It's not enclosed yet, but it will be enclosed depending on how well this goes. I'm not going to enclose until I know that everything is going to survive back here. So we'll be doing that. So everything is stringed up. We're going to start putting the plants in and going from there. So these are just some of the berries. So this would be what I would recommend, whether this will work or not. So typically raspberries and blueberries you can buy online. So this is at least a 1-year plant. I don't know how many beyond that. But online, especially from a blueberry point of view, they can be between $17 and $20 depending on the variety. But these pretty large. These ones, those are Concord grades. Here's your blueberries. Pretty big, like I said. They'll be trimmed up a bit, but at Costco they were 2 for $11.50, so quite cheap, hence the reason I got a number of them. So we're going to plant those today, and we'll see what we get in the next couple of years. The only thing that I don't have is strawberries. We ran out of room here, but we're going to probably do a bed over here of all the strawberry plants. So that's the plan for today. We're going to plant some blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and grapes, and then we'll go from there. All right, thanks. And just an update on where we're at with the greenhouse. So we did a lot with the cold frame, so all sorts: broccolis, cauliflower, Swiss chards, cabbages, lots of lettuce. So you see very good germination. It has been warmer, but previous to that it was into the teens with temperatures, and it was still sprouting up very nicely. So we'll be pulling these out, getting them into the nice full sun. See that this one is kind of shady compared to the other areas, so we'll let these start growing up and we'll switch them out with tomatoes and peppers. We did try to seed some other stuff just to see how it goes, but you can see it doesn't really grow well in the open air. And you can see on these trays you don't see as much growth either, but they're still happening. We got onions, kale, Brussels sprouts. We're still kind of struggling with some lettuces, and onions are slowly popping up. So just looking at these 5 specifically compared to what we saw in the cold frame, you can see a distinct difference between the germination and the growth, since they were all seeded at the same time. Granted, they are different vegetables, so you're going to have that variability, but there's certainly a visible difference of going between these two. So we'll probably extend out the cold frames next year to have the whole bed of it, since we're having such good luck with it, and then we'll be going from there. So that kind of concludes where we are with the spring summer gardens and then in the greenhouse. So everything is a go here. It's a rush to get everything into the ground that we can, and then we'll just let weather take its course from there.